Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Beth, and I just finished reading 11/22/63 by the very notable Stephen King. This book was published in 2011 and is about 850 pages long. There's also a limited series Hulu show of the same name, starring James Franco. I did watch that series prior to reading the book, and I can honestly say that I prefer the limited series. I don't think that's much of a scar on Stephen King. I think that his work actually lends very well to adaptation, especially due to the fact that his writing style is very layman, and it's a very invigorating read. I think there's a lot of thrills to it, but I think there's a lot of um, problems with the characters and the human interactions in the book that are very much fixed in the show. For instance, our main character, Jake, has a romantic interest. Her name's Sadie. And I feel that it was really just rushed at the end. And you don't really believe that the characters should be together or be in love, or it doesn't really seem like they have much of a connection at all. I really just don't understand why they are there's this narrative push that love conquers all and he'll do anything for love and all of this yada yada yada, which I can be a romantic sucker. But if there's nothing for the romance to stand on, if there's no friendship, and because most of this book is actually, it's a very heavy dialogue written book, I just I don't understand why either one of them would sacrifice anything for the other. Just it doesn't make sense with me. In the show, actually, you saw that their love for each other was first started with by their joy of reading and their literature understanding. And in the book, it is touched upon that they both love to dance, but they dance a very limited number of times, and I just don't think that that's enough to really hold a relationship. Uh, so as you've guessed on the title, this book, and even you can see on the cover, is about the date in the titular name, 11/22/63, which was the assassination of JFK. And the premise of the book is that Jake Epping, our protagonist, is tasked with going back in time to stop Lee Harvey Oswald from killing the president. So the whole time travel bit with this book, because it's not that he's in that present day and age trying to stop Lee Harvey Oswald. He's living in 2011 as an English teacher, and a good friend of his gives him this task because he's dying. And so there's this time bubble based out of a diner that the owner just happened to find. His name's Al, and he's dying of cancer. And basically, from this bubble, you come back to the year 1958, which is a few years to 1963, of course. And it's always basically the same every time you go in this bubble. The rule for time travel is, it's very fast and loose. Even in the end, there's a rush job to try to explain why things are the way they are. But I gotta say, I think that it really wanted to be science fiction, but the work to make it plausible just was not there for me. I thought that a lot of things at the end were just pushed to the last, 20, 30 pages, even 50 pages. It was just pushed way at the end, and with a very limited amount of time to explain things, and just short bursts, and there's literally a monologue dump. An exposition jump, I should say, of just, oh, this is why this is, and you're doing it this way, and this is what it would look like if that happened. Just a complete expose in a way that after, this whole event being milked for this long, to kind of be treated with that at the end was a little bit of a kick in the nuts. I will say, though, that it doesn't feel its length, despite the fact that it's quite a long book. It reads quite well. It's an enjoyable novel. I think that it's definitely, if you're afraid of horror and gore, it really does not lean very far into that angle, as opposed to his other books, such as Misery. I think that it it lends well if you really like JFK. Well, actually, I think that it would lend better if you don't know a lot about the assassination, due to the fact that it does pretty much explain everything as it's going, and there are basically no conspiracy theories. If you want the conspiracy theories, I would say actually watch the show. I think it goes a little bit deeper into that. Something that the show does really well is it gives you this there's this form of suspense around the idea that maybe Lee Harvey Oswald didn't act by himself in the assassination against the president. So there really is that spy thriller of, did he do this by himself? Did he not? In the book, I feel like it's not really there. You don't even, throughout the book, you're told the past is always going to be pushing against you. It does not wish to be changed. But for the most part, Jake doesn't change much of the past, and he only really faces a lot of this pushback at the very end, as opposed to the show where he's facing it all throughout the show. Even in the end, Jake is very afraid of being in the past because of the butterfly effect. He doesn't want to buy anything. He doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. And I think that that's almost all uncalled for, because throughout the whole book, the past didn't push against him at all. It needed a bunch of things to change the past. And I feel like if it was actually enacting a huge amount of change, then the past should have pushed back a lot. So I'm going to be honest and say, watch the show instead. I think that the characters are better developed, and most of it is taken from the source material, because look at this thing. There was enough to make a limited series show. And I think it did that very well. I think it served as a very good point of source material, because there was characters added in this show, and I thought that it brought a lot of depth. Thought that it brought a lot of plot points that were not inexistent in the novel. I think that the show actually added on in ways that improved the story. So, for maybe this Stephen King novel, I'd say skip it, watch the show instead. Thanks for watching.